Hello everyone, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Welcome back to my channel. As you can see here, I am here for a Dusty Pink ink exploration, and I thought I would do an updated one. I did one I think sometime last year, and I wanted to do an updated one. I don't have it in this book. I feel like it's in my journal from last year. I just can't remember where it's in here. I'm sure I have a Dusty Pink ink exploration. Hold on. Yeah, it was all the way back in March of last year, and a lot of these I still do have. I don't have brunch date anymore, and then I did a couple of I guess combinations where I added Inaho, Pilot Oroshizuku, Inaho to Kosumosu, and tried to get different combinations here. I'm looking at what I have to add to this, and there are, I think, maybe 3 new ones that I want to add to this. So I thought I'd do an updated Dusty Pink ink exploration. And also, based on, you know, the comments you guys left on my latest ink haul, I decided to also add the strip of Endless Regalia paper here, as well as Rhodia paper, and then do the sample on the Tomoe River paper as well. So let's get started. The first ink I have is Herbon RoD d'encre, which means rusty anchor, and I really love this one for the Dusty Pink inks. So I am using my Speedball B nib here, which I will link in the description below. I purchased this off of Amazon, and I really like it for doing ink swatches. I find it really, what is the word I want to say? It's very little mess for what I want to do. I don't have to worry about, you know, having a pipette as well or anything. It just is everything done all in one. And you can see why I like this pink. It's not a bright in your face pink. It's just very muted, soft. And those are the types of pinks that I like. And this particular ink is actually really good, even in extra fine or fine nibs. It's not too dry, which I have experienced with some Herbon inks, but this one actually is a really good flowing ink. So I'm going to put some here on my Kakamori brass nib, and this is on my River City Penco nib holder. So this is, oh, there's quite a bit on there. I have Herbon, and let's do the figure 8s. RoD d'encre, and do the different line widths. If I can get it. There we go. I really, really love this ink, and as you can see, I do have a bottle of it. There's not many inks that I own bottles of, but this one, I just had to have a bottle. Now I'm gonna go back in here and add a little bit more to see if we can get some of that shading, because this does shade really, really well. So that is Herbon RoD d'encre. The next Dusty Pink ink that I have is Teranishi Opera Rose. It was Leanne of Leanne Likes You actually first featured this on her YouTube channel, and I fell immediately in love with it, and then waited a while before I ordered it. I ordered it from St. Louis Art Shop or Pen Shop, and I fell in love with this. Now this particular ink is a little bit more orange than RoD d'encre, but I still love the way that this looks. And it's actually inked up in one of my pens right now. I have it in my Esterbrook Esty Petrified Forest, and that has an extra fine nib, and it flows beautifully out of that nib. So Teranishi Opera Rose, one of my favorites, but this one does lean a little bit more orange coral than Herbon RoD d'encre does. So it's also a very wet flowing ink. So Teranishi, and do my figure 8s. Opera Rose. Yes, so it is a little bit more orangey brown than RoD d'encre, but still such a pretty ink. Once again, Teranishi Opera Rose. I'm going to add a little bit more to these ones here to see a little bit more of that shading. There we go. The next one in the lineup is Lebon Aphrodite, and I just received this recently as from my Cult Pens order, and I have been wanting to purchase this for quite some time because, as you can see, I do love a good dusty pink. So I feel like, now that I'm putting this down here, I feel like Lebon Aphrodite is almost an in-between between Herbon RoD and Teranishi Opera Rose. It's leaning a little bit more pink than Teranishi Opera Rose, but it's a little bit more orange than RoD. So I feel like it's an in-between of these two. I really, really like this. And it's so interesting now, comparing these three. Just putting some on my nib here. It's interesting now comparing these three. So Lebon, do my figure eights, and it's Aphrodite. I love the whole line of Lebon inks. I studied Greek mythology in elementary, but also took a few classics courses in university and love Greek mythology. So I love that their whole line of inks is based off Greek gods and goddesses. So you can see actually Lebon Aphrodite is more saturated than RoD, but even in the pools here, there's a little bit more orange than there is in RoD. So I really feel like this is an in-between color between Teranishi Opera Rose and RoD. So that is Lebon Aphrodite. The next one is Diamine Cashmere Rose, and this one is in the 2023 Ink Vent calendar. And so many people, when they swatched this in they mentioned, especially in Simone's Discord, they're like, Karina, this color is so you, and so is the next one that's going to come up right after this. And oh gosh, yeah, you guys, I don't know what it is about these inks, but I love this pink. And in like my regular everyday life, pink is not a color that I normally go for, but in inks, I don't know what it is, but I love the dusty pink inks. Adding a little bit more there for the shading. And I don't know what that one looks more like. It looks very similar to Lebon Aphrodite. And it's actually really interesting to add Cashmere Rose to this list because this was a favorite of mine out of that Ink Vent calendar, and I'm so thankful for Miss Marilyn Darling for sending me a sample of this. So this is Diamine. Do my figure eights. Cashmere Rose. Oh, there goes Lucy. She's barking at the dog next door. I don't know if you can hear her. My office is in the basement, and the window is like literally right up there, and that's where she likes to bark at the dog next door. So I'll show you these once these are dried, but actually now that Lebon Aphrodite is drying, that looks starting to look a little bit more orange. This is looking a little bit more pink. So it'll be interesting to see them all together once they're all dried. So that's Diamine Cashmere Rose. The next one is also from the Diamine Ink Vent calendar 2023, and it is Diamine Masquerade. And I'm so thankful for Wava for sending me a sample, as well as Miss Marilyn Darling for sending me a sample. I may have to purchase a bottle of this once Diamine come out with it. This is basically Cashmere Rose with shimmer, although it looks, I feel like it looks more like, how do I want to say it? It's not as pink as Cashmere Rose. Oh gosh, why is that drying out? Yeah, I've used this in a pen recently. Gosh, it's doing something weird to the nib. I've used this in a pen recently and really, really enjoyed the experience. Hold on, I'm just gonna clean that off. I don't know why it's being weird. But yeah, I really enjoyed using this. This was in actually my Waterman Karen, and the two together were fantastic. There we go. There. It looks a little bit more brown, and I think part of that is due to the shimmer that's in here. But I do have to come and dye mine for their shimmer inks because this one flowed really well out of the fine nib in my Waterman Karen. So this is dye mine. Masquerade. Yeah, it's got a bit more of a brown tone to it, but I do really, really like this. I feel like this embodies a dusty pink more than the other ones have, because it really does. Like the shimmer in here, I'm gonna add a little bit more to that here. The shimmer in here makes it more dusty, I think, because of that gold bronzy shimmer adds that, oops, sorry, adds a little bit more of that dusty quality to it. So that is Diamine Masquerade. The last two are ones that I'm like, do they fit in this category or do they not? So the next one I have here is Tatcha Morisaki. Now, Morisaki does mean purple, so it shouldn't technically fit into this category, but it is one of my favorite inks. I actually have a bottle of this in my cart at PenChalet ready to go. I just haven't hit checkout yet. Oh, shoot. So yeah, it's more of that pinky brown, but I really love this color. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, I definitely think it belongs in here. The dusty pink to me feels a little bit more like brown pink. And I don't know, I'm in my, I guess, brown era. So it makes sense that this ink would fit into that. So I really want a bottle of this. Whoops. I don't need that much ink on the nib. So Tatcha, ooh, that's really wet. Morisaki. And in the, yeah, you can see how it is pink, but then in the finer line it's a little bit more brown. I really enjoy that ink. One of my favorites. It does look a little bit different between the papers, but again, I'll show you that once that is all dried. So that is Tatcha Morisaki. Last but not least, this one was iffy on whether or not it should even go in the brown ink, so I don't know if this has a category of its own. It is Sailor Kitsune Biori, and I really like this one. I've actually sent a few samples of this to other people, so I'm like more than halfway done this bottle because I just want to share this out so much. But yeah, now that it's with the rest of these, this looks more brown than a dusty pink. But funny enough, when you put it with the brown inks, it looks more pink. So it's one of those anomalies where when you put it with a specific group, it doesn't necessarily look like it belongs with it. But wait for that to dry, because it's one of those really pretty chromo shading inks from Sailor where it goes down one color. Oh, I keep hitting the stand, sorry. It goes down one color and then it dries something different. So this is Sailor. Oops, Sailor Urameku. And ooh, that is not a figure eight. Kitsune Biori. And then do the different line widths. Yeah, you can see the way that it's drying now, that the pink is really coming out on that Tomoe River paper. I love it. Love it. Beautiful. All right, I will let those dry and then show you once that's all done. So now that the inks have dried, we can take a closer look here at the differences on the papers. So Endless Regalia and Rhodia for the Roué d'Encre. The Rhodia makes it look darker, whereas the Endless Regalia actually makes it look lighter. It's interesting, but you don't get as many of the shading properties in either of those two, whereas you can really get the pooling in the Tomoe River paper in the middle there. And then for Teranishi Opera Rose, the color looks more orange and brown versus Roué d'Encre, but then on the Endless Regalia paper, there's almost like hints of purple that are coming out. And you can see that a tiny bit on the Rhodia paper, but not so much on the Tomoe River paper. The Tomoe River paper, the other colors don't seem to come out as much. It really is just the more coral orange pink. Then you have the Lebon Aphrodite. On camera, it doesn't look like there's a huge difference, but on paper, there really is a difference. The Lebon Aphrodite looks more pink and looks like a more saturated version of Roué d'Encre. I really like that. But then it's interesting to see that on the Endless Regalia paper, in the shading, it looks more purple, and it actually does look darker on the Rhodia paper, but then on the Tomoe River paper, there's more of that just pink that comes through rather than any darker shades of that. So that's really interesting. Then we have Diamine Cashmere Rose, which is a brighter, punchier pink than any of the ones that have come before it. But on the Endless Regalia paper, there's a little bit of sheening that you're seeing there around the pooling. But then that also looks more purple. But then in the Rhodia paper, that does look more saturated and darker than it does on the Tomoe River paper. The Tomoe River paper just shows it off as this lovely pink. And then we have Diane Masquerade, which reminds me a little bit of Ferris Wheel Press Lady Rose in Gold, which I didn't swatch today. I really should have, but I didn't. But it's interesting to see the way that the shimmer looks on all of those papers and the way that the base looks. The base looks more purple or lighter purple on the Endless Regalia and the Rhodia, whereas I think it just looks just this bright, beautiful pink with that gold shimmer on the Tomoe River paper. But even in the different line widths there, you can see the dusty pink coming out there. Really lovely ink, so nice in an extra fine and a fine nib as well. Then we have Tatcha Morisaki, which is more purple than any of the inks here. But funny enough, it does look darker and more purple on the Endless Regalia paper, darker and more saturated on the Rhodia. So not necessarily more purple, just a more saturated version of that pinky brown. And then a little bit lighter on the Tomoe River paper. But if you had let it sit there for a little bit longer, I think you'd be able to see some of like the chromo shading properties come out. You can kind of see the way that the ink is showing that on the Tomoe River paper. One of my favorite inks. And then lastly, you can see now that the Sailor Yarameku Kitsune Biore has dried, it does look a little bit more like a dusty pink rather than a brown. And the way that it looks on these different papers here, it looks lighter and more gray on the Endless Regalia paper, and then just more brown on the Rhodia paper, but it has more complexity on the Tomoe River paper than it does on the other two. So I really enjoy using it on the Tomoe River paper. So those are all of my current dusty pink inks, and it's so nice to see them all in a row like that and to see an updated spread and to also see it on the two different papers as well. So which of these is your favorite, or which of these would you like to try? Let me know down in the comments below. And if there's any other type of exploration you want to see, let me know. I am wanting to do like a red burgundy exploration. I don't have a lot of those, so it won't be a hugely long exploration. And I know that I think over the years, as I acquire ink, I'm going to have to do, you know, the greens again and the purples and the blues. I don't even have a lot of oranges. I think I could try do an orangey coral one, but there wouldn't be a lot in that one either, but we'll see. All right, but that is it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again for watching and have yourselves a great day.